House's place.
Does the Leader of the Opposition want a general election? A yes or no will suffice.
Well, he obviously didn't hear what I just said. I was about to point out, before I was gently interrupted by the honourable member, that the offer of the election today is a bit like the offer of an apple to Snow White and the Wicked Queen, because what he's offering is not an apple or even an election, but the poison of a no deal. So, Mr. Speaker, I repeat what I said last night. Let this bill pass and gain royal assent, then we will back an election so we do not crash out with a no-deal exit from the European Union. And so it's the anti-democratic instincts of this government that cause us concern. Despite the expressed will of the House to support the bill debated today, the Conservative peers, their colleagues in the Lords, have tabled 92 amendments for debate. I really doubt this is motivated by a desire to improve the legislation, not a bit of it, but to filibuster it. An undemocratic cabal in Downing Street, aligned with an undemocratic and unelected House to override the democratic will of this House expressed in the bill that we have just given a third reading to. If they can't win the argument, they try to shut down debate. We had the Prime Minister deciding to prorogue Parliament in August, and today he wants to dissolve Parliament to shut down scrutiny. He cannot handle dissent. He cannot handle dissent and debate in his own party, and has extraordinarily expelled 21 of his own MPs who voted against him last night. The hypocrisy of this process is phenomenal. From a Prime Minister who twice voted against the last Prime Minister's Brexit plans. A general election isn't a plaything for a Prime Minister to avoid his obligations, to dodge scrutiny or renege on commitments. He is committed to renegotiate Brexit. But where is it? Where is the plan? Where are the proposals? If he has a Brexit plan, be it no deal or the new mystery proposal deal that we've yet to see any information of, then he should put it before the public in a public vote, a referendum or a general election, and seek a mandate for them. Let the Prime Minister go to Brussels tomorrow and ask for an extension so that he can seek a mandate for his unknown Brexit plan and put it before the people. The truth, Mr. Speaker, is that this motion from the Prime Minister is about playing a disingenuous game that is unworthy of his office. I look forward to the day his government and his party and all their austerity and misery they've heaped on this country are turfed out of office, and we prevent this country crashing out on the 31st of October with all the damage he knows, because he's already seen the documents, it will do to people's lives and job prospects in this country. It's a cynical movement from a cynical Prime Minister.
Mr. Kenneth Clarke.
I don't know whether the House wants a debate. I'll be very, very brief. I was going to join in if other people were going to debate, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for encouraging me. No doubt the deep distress of everybody else waiting to have an important vote. I merely say that I found these exchanges quite predictable. They've been well rehearsed before we took place. I do think the Prime Minister, with the greatest respect, has a tremendous skill in keeping a straight face whilst he's being so disingenuous. The fact is he's now desperate to have an election in order to bring this House's proceedings to an end and to have the general election clearly before October the 31st. And he's obviously going to campaign before that on the basis that he's been thwarted in getting an amazing beneficial deal for this country, which is actually being blocked by wicked continental politicians and by politicians and the MPs in the House of Commons who have no sense of the true national interest, which is to keep him in power. It's wrong to say that the opposition to him is trying to reverse the referendum. A very large percentage of those who've been defeating him in the last 2 days are prepared to vote for Brexit. They voted for Brexit more often than he has. He caused delay in March and he caused delay in April, but we wish to do so on satisfactory and reasonable terms. We now have a bill which is the beginning of a pathway to actually give us more time for grown-up, sensible diplomatic exchanges between countries. The idea that in the European Union they're refusing us a deal because they really think they're going to trap us in permanently is nonsense. They're desperate to get a deal, but of course they're desperate to get a deal, but not so desperate that they're going to accept terms which will cause chaos in Northern Ireland, politically and economically, and will shatter the normal rules which hold together the single market and the customs union upon which they are based. The Prime Minister has thrown down dramatic conditions which he must know make any sensible negotiations pointless unless he changes his direction. He's now Prime Minister. He's now a responsible politician with huge responsibility. I urge him one last time to stop treating all this as a game and to use the time to actually get a serious resolution of these impossible problems to look after the future goodwill of this country, keeping us in a proper, no doubt different relationship with our partners on the continent, and in particular keeping our economic and trading relationships intact, because they're essential for the future of our children and grandchildren.
Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I congratulate with all my heart the Right Honourable Member for Rushcliffe, who, I have to say, as he has done on many occasions where I've followed with him, spoken with great sense. And I have to say to the Prime Minister, I'll give you a piece of friendly advice, Prime Minister. Sack your adviser, Dominic Cummings, and bring in the Right Honourable Member for Rushcliffe that might actually be able to give you some sensible advice. You know, Mr. Speaker, we're having this debate tonight quite simply because the Prime Minister's been defeated. That's the reality. And my question to the Prime Minister is, this House is supposed to be sovereign in his eyes. Accept the will of this House. Accept the bill that Parliament has passed. Accept your duty as Prime Minister and go to the European Council on the 17th of October and negotiate the extension that you've now been told to deliver. Mr. Speaker, yet again this government has been defeated by a majority in the House of Commons against a no-deal Brexit. The passage of the bill tonight to block no deal is a victory, not just for democracy, but yes, for common sense. And I pay tribute to the members of Parliament across these benches who've worked tirelessly to build consensus for this legislation to pass and remove the cliff edge catastrophe. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister shouldn't be talking about surrender. He should be congratulating members of Parliament that have stood up for all our national interests. And really, what a disgrace for a Prime Minister to accuse parliamentarians, decent parliamentarians, of surrender. It simply lacks dignity, Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, now Parliament has once again displayed its will. The Prime Minister must show respect for democracy and agree to abide by the will of Parliament on the bill blocking no deal.
Calm down, Boris.
Look, if you wish to intervene rather than shouting at me, I will give you the courtesy that you didn't afford me. If you would like to rise.
I've been listening to the Honourable Gentleman with great care, but the one thing that he doesn't say in all of this is that the reason he has voted tonight for this bill is because he and his party are adamantly opposed to ever delivering Brexit. So will he now admit on his feet that that is his purpose and that is the purpose of this bill?
My heavens, Mr. Speaker, I think it's quite clear if anyone reads the bill what it's about. It's about removing the cliff edge of the 31st of October. And yes, we in the SNP have worked with colleagues right around this House. We've worked in a spirit of consensus. But yes, of course, I wish to stop Brexit and Scotland being dragged out. And I say this to the right honourable gentleman, that we will work collectively with everybody here. But I have a responsibility with my colleagues to stop this government dragging Scotland out of Europe against its will.